hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. We're kissing the weekend. We're just about to dive into it.
It's a short week. Doesn't it feel funny? I mean, we just got into this week, and all of a sudden, here we are.
Yeah, I had a friend that, does some other work, and they said, well, I guess they have a weird parking situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did is, they got back on Wednesday, the 5th, from all of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened was that they parked in a certain place,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that it was Wednesday when it was really Thursday, so their car got towed. And I'm like going,
Where was this,
yeah.
Bill? Was this up in your neighborhood or my neighborhood?
No, it was up a little bit further north, and actually not the person you were thinking. I have friends up there, and so I was like going, well, I've done that. When you have these, short weeks, long holiday weekends.
Yes.
Oh, it's so easy just to have, something go awry, but when it does, man, it shoots you in the foot. But
I got my driveway sealed yesterday, and I spent most of the day worrying about whether it was going to rain on it. They say you have a window of between 4 and 8 hours. If you can get by 4 hours and then it rains on your driveway, odds are you're okay. But it's iffy. If you get by 8 hours of dryness, you're in good shape. So we got by about 13 or 14 hours last night.
Oh, you're in great shape then.
Yeah.
So what are you worried about?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm a perfectionist. I would like to have had it dry for 48 hours, but if you live where I live at this time of year, I mean, they're always predicting, it'll be partly sunny today with thunder showers this afternoon. Of course. I know. Mm-hmm. You just never know. But anyway, I got my driveway sealed, which is great. But you know what happens when you have a new driveway and it's sealed? As soon as you drive your car back in from the street onto the driveway, I mean, it's pristine black. It looks like a brand new driveway. But your tires have dirt on it, right? So there'll be streaks all over it in no time,
Yeah. So you're the one that broke in the driveway. It was you. You.
Anyway, our problems are insignificant compared to what's happening around the world and in the White House. In the White House with
they don't call it the White
House
House for nothing.
Yeah, and when the president says to somebody, "Look, why don't you take a powder?" I mean, it means a whole different thing down there.
Well, don't worry though, because I have it on good authority that they're not going to have anybody to pin it on, but they're going to wrap up the story probably maybe as early as Monday of next week.
I heard Dan Bongino suggest that if the only person that really legitimately could have gotten it in there, only people are the first family, because they don't go through the security checks that everybody else does. And apparently, according to people who worked in the White House, they're checked numerous times throughout their process of getting into the White House.
But they're painting a story, and I'm going to explain and ask you a question here. But they're painting a story that it had to be somebody that was touring the White House.
Well, you know what Dan Bongino says? You watch. They're going to say it was a Secret Service agent. See, because they aren't checked either. They're going
to do that, and it was there. But now, somebody concluded. Now, I know there was the Kelly McEnany concluding it couldn't have been hunters, this and that, and everything. And it's in a high trafficked area. That is not a good reason for saying it's not Hunter, but they're kind of blowing it off. It's insignificant. They're blowing off the amount. We really don't know how much it was. Have you seen a picture? And maybe you have, and maybe I'm naive. Have you seen a picture of it to identify how much coke there was? Or do you even know?
Actually, they said it was a dime bag. Now, I don't know what a dime bag looks like, of cocaine. Is it the size of a dime, or is it bigger? I don't know. But, here's the thing I find interesting, Bill. Wait, you're smiling. Here's the thing I find interesting. First, they said that the cocaine was found outside of the White House, on the White House grounds. That was the first thing they said. Then they said they found it in the White House in a supply closet. Then they said it was found in a supply closet right next to the Oval Office. It's getting closer and closer. Yesterday, they said, oh, no. It was found next to the vice president's office in the White House. I guess she has an office in the
Oh,
White
yeah,
House.
she does.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think what they're trying to do is move it closer to her and her people than President Biden's office, the Oval Office.
Well, I didn't know cocaine could get up and walk around. It can be carried around. Dime bag is, and saying it's a dime bag, but they're not showing it. You know, they can show anything else. You know, well, there's the gun that was. You know, but they're this thing is changing its description all the time. So I don't know if it was a dime bag, if it was an 8-ball.
I got to tell you, I'm falling
more
down.
than
I'm falling down on the job. I am falling down on the job because I should have started this whole segment off with the theme music. I don't know what's wrong with me. We talked about this.
It's not a dime bag. It's more. Hey, I'm not a lyricist, and in this time of the morning, I'm not a singer either.
Oh yes. Oh well. I have to work on that. I have to work. At least I got it in the segment someplace. You know.
You know, they're trying every excuse to say it's not Hunter's because of the proximity of it and like that. He'd be smarter to have a better, more secure place to hide his cocaine. Oh, okay.
Well, you know,
so you're admitting he would probably have cocaine in the White House, but that wouldn't be his. But, you know, I look at Hunter on video lately. I'm not even talking about the 4th of July.
I know.
I mean, forget the cocaine. That boy has been hitting the crack pipe pretty damn heavy. If you look at that face, he is not in rehab. He is not in recovery. He is abusing it even now, and this White House is covering for it, and it makes me wonder who else is, well, let's just call it a drug.
When you see this young man, I say young man, he's 53, I guess, but when you see him when he's healthy, he looks like a young guy. I mean, he has a lot going for him. But now, like you said, he looks haggard, and he looks beat up. And he looks like somebody who is abusing again. They showed pictures of him standing with Jill and the president on the balcony at the White House on the 4th of July. And apparently people who were watching him said he was sweating. He was wiping his face. He was rubbing his nose a lot, which would indicate that he's probably been abusing. I think they're definitely covering for him. And, here's the problem. Part of his agreement, his plea agreement for that deal that he got a couple of weeks ago, was that he couldn't use. He had to be, the straight and narrow. And if they find that this was his stuff and he's using, that deal that they put together, that sweetheart deal, it's gone. He ends up going to jail.
Well, that would be the way normally things would. For you or me, yeah, that's the way it would happen.
Well,
for Hunter, though,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's under the Biden protection plan, so it doesn't matter. It's got clauses, attached to clauses that, well, yeah, but there was this act that, that protects him.
President Trump, right, with that Alvin Bragg case in New York, the statute of limitations expired on that. I mean, the fact that she has gotten as far as she's gotten with that case is a miracle. I mean, it had a 7-year statute of limitations, and it was like 20 years ago that she supposedly had the problem with the president. And they bend the law, they bend the rules, and they just keep dragging on these investigations. But with Biden, right, with this bag of cocaine in the White House, they're already signaling that the investigation is going to be over in the beginning of next week. The beginning of next week. Now, why is that? How can they do that?
They want this story to go away. So this weekend, they will find the reason to excuse it, and the media is going to drop it. It doesn't matter what they find. If they find else, I mean, who is it on the Senate floor? There's one of I forget.
Tom Cotton.
Yeah, that's it. He's wanting them to release everything they got because this thing is going to go away and go away quick. and that's exactly why he's trying to change everything. But I don't know that it's going to be if him by himself is going to get it done, because it's
I
pretty
think that
corrupt crew in there.
let me explain again the problem. It isn't just the fact they found a bag of cocaine. I mean, that's nothing. I mean,
I don't think it's the
a
first
lot.
time cocaine's been in the White House.
No,
but
it's a lot. I mean, it's wrong. It's an illicit drug. It's illegal. If they found it in your house, you'd be in a lot of trouble.
yeah.
But in and of itself, it's
Well, you know what?
But here's
And,
it goes
okay.
back. It goes back to spying. It goes back to influence. Are they still? Is somebody still trying to get influence and get close to the executive, the chief executive of our country, by giving favors like drugs to an addicted family member in the White House? Is somebody using Hunter Biden right now, even as we speak? We talk about all these influence peddling deals that he did supposedly in 2017, 2018, 2019. But what if they're still doing it? What if somebody's supplying him with all the stuff he needs, as long as he wants it, so long as they just give us a heads up every so often. Just tell us who's been in the White House, who's been in the Oval Office a lot with your dad recently. I mean, they can get a lot just by knowing the guest list, just by knowing the visitor list at the White House, And if Hunter does something so, quote, innocent as to say, well, he's seen the Chinese ambassador 3 times in the past week, that might indicate to somebody that it's some kind of a deal going on between China and the White House. I'm just saying, that's the kind of thing they're looking for. It's not that he can get, reams of intelligence, but, this guy has got a problem.
Everybody has a vice, and there's probably, besides cocaine, there's so many deals going on in the White House. It would make your head spin. But Uncle Joe is not clean in any way. But, if they're going to let this cocaine thing slide, and it's no big deal, it's no big deal, it's no big deal. Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but then that means that everybody's locked up in prison or in jail for cocaine use.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
It's not fair treatment. They need to. You may as well just unlock those doors right now and let them back out in the street and quit prosecuting the drug suppliers. And I don't believe we should do that. But
it's another case of the laws are meant for thee, not for me.
Yeah, So we've got to do something about it. But we're not.
No.
And the American public is just going to stand idly back and go, well, that's just the way it works.
I know I am. I'm a little frustrated. I mean, you expect justice to be quick and firm, right? But it doesn't happen. I mean, to me, I obviously have seen things happen over the past 2.5 years that I felt has been illegal and that something should have been done, but nothing gets done. So like a lot of people out there, you become tired. You become tired of being hopeful. I mean, it's tough. Then you see the criminals, the bad guys, they just keep doing what they're doing. I mean, does it make any sense, literally, make any sense to anybody out there what's happening on our southern border? I mean, even if you're somebody who feels that everybody should be welcome in our country, is this how you would welcome them into our country? Just let them walk in from anywhere, through anywhere? Does that make sense to you? If you really wanted to be, so nice to these people, you'd let them, if you really meant it, come through the front door. Don't break a window and come in the basement. I mean, that's essentially what right now, we are, we're in the worst condition I have ever seen our country. I mean, as somebody who's been around for several decades, I've seen us in, ups and downs. I've seen us in good times and in bad times. This is the worst. We have no protection on our borders, and there's no protection coming along anytime soon to stop what's happening on our borders. And you have a president in the White House who is oblivious to what's going on in the world. He's lost in space somewhere, and you have a crack addicted, drug addicted son sleeping in the Oval Office, in the White House, in the Lincoln bedroom. I mean, it's just mind boggling. This guy's 53 years old. Would you please go out and get a job?
Well, let me ask you, why don't they sweep the White House, including the Lincoln bedroom and every other, place like that in the White House?
Bill, you know this as well as I do. They have every single angle of that White House on video. There isn't a place you can look at. It's one thing to have a few cameras on your house or my house. There are some places that you can't cover. It's just too expensive and the signal doesn't read. But the White House has the best cybersecurity people in the world doing their cybersecurity. They got cameras everywhere. We're hearing them say, well, we're looking into it. We're trying to investigate. They knew, in my opinion, 25 minutes after they found the bag, they knew who put it there. There's no investigation.
Well, it's pretty obvious who put it there. Now, I think the story that will come out is, I've got one of two theories. Theory number one is they're going to make this go away and they're going to create a patsy, where it was dropped in there by somebody maybe that stashed it from the public or something like that. They will come up with that. Now, the other possibility could be, because they are moving it, like you said, closer to Kamala to say it's one of her people. Could it be because one of the fears of a lot of people and Democrats is that if Joe runs again, he pulls Kamala along and he is not going to make it through the second term if he were to win by hook or by crook. All right?
More crook than hook. More crook than
hook. And then you've
got
Kamala in the White House, and even the Dems don't want that. So maybe this is an opportunity to set her up, to take her out, and put a key person in play so that when, Joe wins by hook or crook, they have what they want in the White House.
Look, she's cognizant for the most part. I mean, if you hear her laugh, you have to question that. But for the most part, she's clear-headed, and she's got more political savvy going for her than, I dare say, Joe. So I think that she's not going to allow herself to be pushed into that corner. Yeah,
you know what you just did? You just defended Kamala, which I would too in this particular situation. It's not her, but she could be being set up, or her office, to be a patsy and say, well, we got to the bottom of it, and unfortunately, we can't have this. We're going to have to replace you.
They're going to say, and I already heard somebody say this from the White House, there's a chance we may never know. There's a chance we may never know. It's going to be like
the Kennedy assassination, huh?
That's exactly.
They're going to Kennedy the damn thing.
That's exactly right. They're going to say, the cameras in that room were malfunctioning that day. We couldn't get a good, it's amazing. The person knew where the cameras were, and we couldn't tell who it was, So, these people, they look at us, the average Joe out here in the street, the great unwashed. They look at us and they think, with all due respect, you're as dumb as a box of rocks. That's what they think. They think you and me stupid. We're just people. We just work out here in the hinterlands while they enjoy the fame and fortune of their position,
the fruits of their labor. Yes, I know.
This is what drives me nuts. They have an arrogance about them in this administration. I mean, they were asking Karine Jean-Pierre, speaking of dumb as a box of rocks, and that's not a racial slur. This is based upon her personal performance. But she was asked about do you expect to have an answer for us soon? And she said, we may never know, Oh, my God, lady. I mean, you're in the most secure house in the world. They got cameras everywhere. They got people watching the screens. It's not like in my house where if somebody walks by a video camera it records them, and you have to go back and look at them. Besides recording every image off every camera in the White House, there's somebody sitting in some room in that house with all the video screens, and they are looking at the live feeds. You know, they're not waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, but when that cocaine was put in there, the guy went over to get a ham and turkey sandwich.
Oh,
from
that
the
could have
vending
been,
machine.
yeah.
Yeah, he missed it, or she missed it.
It's all
or
in
it
timing.
missed it.
Yep.
Yeah, timing's everything,
Yeah.
and that seems to be pretty prevalent in this administration. Well, we wouldn't know, but they had to go to the bathroom.
And what bothers me again more than anything else is who is supplying the stuff to this guy, and what is he giving them in return for the drugs? Are we being compromised at the closest level? Right now. I mean, it just and they just won't give you a straight answer. It's amazing. Speaking of straight answers,
here we go.
Mike Pence is running for president, and I'd like to say, with all due respect, that I have a better chance of winning the presidency than Mike Pence.
And by the way, you can either write in Jim's name or write in my name if you don't feel comfortable with anything else.
And we might beat him. With our listeners all over they're all over the world, but that won't make any difference because in this administration
should count because
that's right. They're letting everybody vote now. But Mike Pence was on the stump yesterday. I don't even love that expression, on the stump. You know where that comes from? On the stump?
No, but I'm sure you'll tell us.
back in the early 1800s, late 70s, they would go and they'd sometimes speak in a town square, and they would have a gazebo or something like that, and that'd be nice. But if you were out in the rural areas and you maybe a farmland area,
stood on a tree stump.
You stood on a stump. They didn't have a stage, so you'd gather everybody around the stump, and the person who was running for the candidacy would step on this stump on a farm, right? So he would be elevated, and that's where it comes from. So he was out he was on the stump.
So if you were stumped and who to vote for, you just go to the stump.
I have too much time in my hands nowadays.
You really do, Jim.
Yeah, I do, Bill.
I didn't know this bit of trivia, and now, unfortunately, it's stuck in my head.
Yeah, and you can't get rid of it.
Oh, I will. I'll find someone to dump it on, and they're going to be looking at me like, you bastard, you. Now I got to go dump this story. The stump dump.
Anyway, you can tell it's a Friday, folks. Mike Pence was, campaigning, and he was feeling really good about himself until he ran into a woman who was given the microphone and asked him a question, and here's what she said.
If it wasn't for your vote, we would not have Joe Biden in the White House.
Right.
Joe Biden shouldn't be there. And all those wonderful things that you and Trump were doing together would be continuing, and this country would be on the right path. Do you ever second guess yourself? That was a constitutional right that you had to send those votes back to the states.
The Constitution of the United States in Article 2 says the job of the Vice President is to serve as the presiding officer of a joint session where you open and count the votes. Don't take my word for it. Go read the Constitution. Not really. I say this with great affection and respect. The Constitution is very clear. My job was to oversee a session of Congress where objections could be heard, and I made sure that objections would be recognized. So we would hear whatever evidence or whether debate there was, but the Constitution says you open and count the votes, no more, no less. The Constitution affords no authority for the Vice President or anyone else to reject votes or return votes to the states. Never been done before, should never be done in the future. I'm sorry, ma'am, but that's actually what the Constitution says. No vice president in American history ever asserted the authority that you have been convinced that I had. But I want to tell you, with all due respect, I said when I announced, President Trump was wrong about my authority that day, and he's still wrong.
Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Pence. You talk about it's never been done and never should be done. It's never been done because the situation that you bumped into, my friend, had never happened in our country before. It was a one of a kind, a first. All right? So things are adjusted in those moments. Don't give us this, it's never been done, never should be done. My friend, you didn't have any cojones. Now, let me tell you what you told a crowd of people. I hope I can find it. This is what you said to a crowd of people, I believe in South Carolina, the Wednesday before. Listen.
We all got our doubts about the last election. And I want to assure you, I share the concerns of millions of Americans about voting irregularities. And I promise you, come this Wednesday, we'll have our day in Congress. We'll hear the objections. We'll hear the evidence.
Hear that? He was trying to play that audience like, don't worry, you got it in my capable hands, and we'll take care of this thing. Don't worry, everything's cool. This guy is a bold-faced liar. When he says, by the way, it's not in the Constitution, I saw you run over and grab the little Constitution you have.
No, it's right here by my side.
I
Now,
see
I'd
it,
have
yes.
to read all
It's
the
a
way
very
through it.
nice one, too.
Yes. You know, you actually have a copy of this sitting in a drawer in a desk in Boston. You have this exact same one. I guess the next time I go up there, I got to go stick it in the mail to you.
Oh, really? You bought me a Constitution?
Oh, no, I didn't buy it. Somebody else did.
Oh, no kidding. That's very nice. Very nice. Well,
Yeah, that's been
something
sitting
to
up
look
there.
forward
But,
to.
yeah, I just haven't been up there in a while. So,
Well,
But,
what did you Article 2 of the Constitution?
Well, there's a lot to read. I'm not going to read this whole Article 2. Did he say
But
what section?
He said, I mean, I don't think he did, but the thing is, he points that out like he said, read the Constitution. Hey, buddy, do you think you're the only guy who's looked at the Constitution, who's read the Constitution? I've read and look, I'm not a big reader. I've read the Constitution. It's not a simple read, okay? And it's kind of confusing in parts. You can be a little caught off guard by some of the statements, but when he says it's never been done, never should be done, no, a lot of things have never been done that should be done. A lot of things, have been interpretations of the Constitution,
Well, and if it didn't say what they wanted it to, they amended it. But I am of the belief here, when I
You find
read it,
a section?
no, I didn't find the exact section, but as I'm just doing a quick, perusal of it, it doesn't say what he just said. It is, it may not be clearly defined, which again kind of goes to what you're saying. It's a one of a kind, which means that, that's interpretational.
See, the thing about this guy is he's establishment Washington. He's been in Washington for years as a representative. He worked with guys like Paul Ryan, and I think Paul Ryan is a deep state. That's my opinion. Just an opinion. And I think that they chose Pence as the vice president because somebody convinced President Trump, who was new to Washington, that you need somebody who knows the players, who knows the people. And, a guy like Mike Pence, he's an evangelical. He's a good guy. He can be.
He was a journalist, too, so he would know the Constitution.
And he can be trusted. This guy can be trusted. So we get him in as vice president, and he can interpret the different things that are happening, the little nuances that, you as a novice, Mr. President, might miss. But what they didn't see is that this guy was also part of that clique in Washington, that Paul Ryan clique of people who they ran the government.
Who's to say that, when you look at pre-January 6th, and you just heard what he said, and then, of course, way post-January 6th, it's a 180. So who's to say between that pre-January 6th meeting, somebody said, Mike, hey, we got to have a talk. Shut the door behind you, won't you, please?
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't call it a come to Jesus. They had to come to terms with him. And then he left, let's not even talk about Trump. He left the American public hanging, swinging in the wind from the rope that
He sure did. He sure did. He he didn't even hesitate in his position. He didn't vacillate. He just, when he got the chance to just accept that vote as being the vote and that's it and move along quickly, he did it. He did it.
Yeah, it was left up to him to make the determination to either, write it or accept it. And now we know. I mean, take the noose off your neck. I mean, it was this Pence set. He
Not
set
to be
us up.
trusted.
Whether he set us up or after he did that speech, somebody said, "Okay, this guy is going to screw up our plan. Get him in here. Get him on page." And they got him on page, and he screwed everybody. Then
I just don't think that. When President Trump talks about his new administration, there's never any reference to this guy. He knows, and he has said many, many times when he's been on the trail recently, he said, "I know who the players are now. I didn't know it then. In 2016, I had to rely on other people, but I know who the players are now. I will rely on nobody else but me." And I think that's the difference. And we can't, by the way, our side can't afford somebody who's a newcomer to Washington anymore. We need somebody who can go in there. Our country is in such a terrible strait right now. We need somebody who knows the landscape and how to work it. We need somebody who knows how to play the game. And, I mean, do you think that as much as you may like Ron DeSantis, he's never been the president or in the executive office. He's been a representative. He's been a representative, a U.S. representative before he was governor. But he would have to learn a lot. And also, I got to question his connection, DeSantis' relationship with a guy like Ryan. I think Ryan truly cannot be trusted. He's on the board of directors at Fox now. And since he's been on the board, look at what has happened to that network.
Oh, even now, Trump blasted Kelly once upon a time, and then she worked in the Trump administration. And now she's defending Hunter.
Katie, you mean Katie? Katie McEnany?
Katie, yeah. I get, how I screw up names. Yes. Anyway, but she she sat there and she goes, well, the place where it was, it really couldn't be Hunter. It had to be in a high traffic area. Well, she doesn't know. She never worked security. So Bongino, I would take his word for it because he worked that detail.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely right. In his way of thinking is that it had to come in through the back door through somebody that had maximum clearance, and that is going to be the presidential family.
Yep. Well, I think that it's amazing. Money can't buy you love. Well, actually, it can buy your support. I'll tell you that much. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that when people leave government, and with government, even if you're like press secretary, and you might be making maybe $150,000 a year, which is a nice salary for most people, but when you get out of government and somebody comes along and says, "Hey, we're going to pay you, $5 million a year to be one of our commentators on MSNBC or Fox," where
do I sign and when do I go?
And all of a sudden, you become incredibly loyal to that new employer.
Yeah, they're paying you a check. You get used to that amount of money. Here's a question, though, on security, and Bongino's point.
Yeah.
Because you got the presidential family. You elect a president.
Right.
And you're electing somebody that you believe is to be trustworthy and uphold the Constitution of the United States. So you don't have to really vet them.
Right.
Well, yeah, you can bring in their, like Jimmy Carter with, his brother, was it?
Yeah.
Billy Carter.
Yeah, Billy Carter. Remember he had a beard.
Would you give that guy? Yeah. Would you let that guy through the back door?
Didn't he had a beard? Billy Beer.
Billy Beer. Yeah. Yeah, get yourself some Billy Beer there. You'll be thinking right. But my point is, knowing Hunter's background, should he have clearance to not be scrutinized when he walks?
Excellent question.
And they are talking about all the pictures that they're showing now of Biden and Hunter together. It's a fatherly love. Well, we all know that parents in their love, right or wrong, will justify certain things and let things slide. So not only do I say Hunter's compromised and should be scrutinized, but that means Joe should too. Nothing personal, Joe,
Yeah.
but he is your son, and that fatherly love thing, I know all about it.
No,
There's nothing you wouldn't do for your kid, right?
if this guy, and he just worked out a deal, right? I mean, so he is convicted of something. He should definitely be screened more diligently than the average person. This guy has got issues, and he should be screened.
And Joe and Jill should be as well, equally, and they should understand going, well, we're fighting for our son. It's that parent love, and we are willing to make some sacrifices to be frisked and searched because, after all, it is not their house. It is the people's house.
Hey, I've seen him come. I've seen Hunter get off Marine One with his dad.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about no screening. A guy gets off Marine One. This guy is living the high life, folks. He's living the high life. He's 1 week he's telling a court that he can't afford the child support of his proven child. By the way, if you wonder about that woman who he didn't marry, who he had a child with, and initially he said it wasn't his, and then she had DNA testing done and proved that child, I think her name is Navy, was his. But I mean, a judge said, yeah, she can't use the Biden name. No. Do you think you'd have the same thing happen with you if you were in a similar situation? If you said, Your Honor, I know genetically it's my child, but that child shouldn't be able to use my name. The judge would laugh you out of court. But the legal system right now is not honest in a lot of ways, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you another example. In the University of Delaware, they house Joe Biden's Senate papers.
Oh, yeah, yep.
All of his Senate documents are in the University of Delaware.
Well, 1800,
you know what happened with the Supreme Court of Delaware?
Yeah, they're blocking anybody from getting into them.
Yeah. You cannot retrieve Joe Biden's secret Senate documents. Now, let me ask you a question: if he was a U.S. senator, shouldn't those documents be public? I mean, they should be part of his work as a senator, which was a public position. It shouldn't be something that he can squirrel away and lock up so you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
But the court,
they are protecting. But look at the Penn Center. Penn State University, the Penn Center. You look at the University of Delaware. I mean, they know how their bread is buttered, and they're going to protect every bit of it.
University of Delaware has refused to release Biden's records and said that the papers will not be released until 2 years after Biden retires from public office.
Mm-hmm.
And when nobody cares anymore, when the damage will have been done, you know? Amazing.
Yeah, and he'll probably be dead.
Yeah. So what are you going to do then?
And I'm not saying that,
I know.
Enthusiastically.
The guy's in his 80s. It could happen. I know. You're right.
Look, if he is guilty of major crimes, which he is, then I want to see justice. I don't care if, he dies a day later being led off to prison, which he should. But the point is, I want to see justice, and I think America deserves to see what's really going on. And, and Democrats are well, what about Trump? Well, you know what? There's actually, if he was guilty of everything that you say, he would have been locked up and taken away a long time ago.
Right.
But it's all, as I, pardon the pun, but all trumped up charges and things that have expired the statute of limitation because there was nothing there to begin with.
Right. Well, it's good for the goose, but not for the gander. This is how they work. This is how they work in Washington. They say justice for all, but it's not equal justice. They can say justice for all, and there could be some truth, but it's not right now equal justice. I mean,
Well,
things
we're saying justice for all. They're saying this is justice, y'all. Little different. The little difference in how they think about it.
Interesting thing. I thought I'd bring this up too. Mark Levin, a terrific talk show host, a guy who's been around for quite some time and smart as can be. He's got a terrific background too. I think he was the aide de camp to Ed Meese, the Attorney General, back I think in the Reagan administration, and he's just got a really good legal mind. He's one of these guys where he sees something happening in the news and he breaks it down legally like he's preparing a case. And the guy is he's just sharp. Now, he came out with a book. It's a brand new book. And let me get the title right here so that I don't mess it up. I think it's called, please stand by. I'm trying to find the exact terminology. I can tell you that the publisher is Simon & Schuster. And I think it's called The Democrat Party Hates the U.S. or something like that. And I still can't find the exact title. Can you find it anywhere?
Let me go and get out of this.
Mike Levin. But anyway, here's the point. We could be looking for this title all day long. His brand new book, which is just out, which I'm sure is really interesting, and they're all bestsellers. Target, otherwise known as Target, doesn't want to sell it because it might offend some people on the left. Now, they didn't consult anybody on the right when they decided to, sell, transgender pajamas for 2-year-olds, and stick them in the front of the store so when you walked in, it was the first thing you saw. Didn't bother them, no. But now, because Mark Levin's book could be offensive to some, they've decided not to market it, not to sell it. Have
you ever noticed?
Go ahead.
When you go to Barnes and Noble, you will walk in and all the books, even if it's a cookbook that is political and left, it is out there forefront. Anything that is pro-right is not on the shelf. You have to ask for it. Well, I don't know. I'll go back and see if I can find it.
Just to prove that I have been searching diligently, even that's been talking to you guys, right? The name of the book is The Democrat Party Hates America. Now, Mark doesn't cut any corners.
It's a tough one to come on. Yeah.
But I do have an update. Da-da-da-da. This just in, Target reverse course and will sell Levin's book. Good move on the part of Target, because what they don't need is to have a large segment of their clientele turn their back once again on Target. They don't need that.
Well, the one thing that I will say, every business has somebody woke in it. And every business has somebody conservative in it. The difference between the two is the woke person doesn't give a rat's ass about the business and the higher ups. Oh, well, we can't do this. We got to protect what I believe in. And by God, this company's going to do that.
Well, speaking of rats, whatever you just said, that word, right? Another story rears its ugly head.
Oh, geez.
Not
my picture, is it?
No. You know how we've talked about how you and I have been, our show has been banned or censored or
we had that. YouTube
suppressed
is the big
by
one.
YouTube, right? Yeah. Well, I didn't know this, but apparently this is true. YouTube has allowed an explicit video on butt hair removal. You heard me right. I know you're wincing. Some of you are doing double takes right now. Explicit video on butt hair removal with millions of views permitted. In the meantime, if you are a conservative and question the election, maybe you have some questions about the vaccine and the side effects, maybe you have questions about the current administration, right? If you talk about it on a video, YouTube will yank it. Pull it right away. But if you want to bend over naked, I'm not, so help me God. and
There
show
you are.
your gluteus maximus and all of its radiant glory, and explain to somebody how to remove the hair around your anus.
Jim,
I cannot believe that I mean, this is a true story. They will allow that on YouTube.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but that is totally, absolutely, positively asinine.
You've been waiting for the whole show to say something like
No, you set me up on that one. But no, it is technically it is asinine. There's no better way to say it.
I mean, you talk about people in being woke. The left has no problem, absolutely no problem, squelching your opinions if you're a conservative. They have not only that, but they would prefer not just to squelch it, but to label you as somebody who's menacing, somebody who is doing something which is anti-American. Biden does this all the time. The MAGA, the big bad MAGA people. Give me a break.
Yeah, now I'm trying to find the story here on Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I heard about this. Her and Lauren Boebert got into a little argument on the floor.
I guess a disagreement. So now the Freedom Caucus, chaired by Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, voted that the future of her with the group last month, apparently she's out. She's not in the Freedom Caucus anymore.
Well, she's very outspoken. She doesn't hesitate speaking her mind, which I'm sure would irritate some of the more moderate members of that panel, because what I have learned, the Democrats march lockstep. I mean, if you talk about being a united party, I mean, the most moderate person on the left is a screaming leftist, okay? So they are all together. They walk in unison. But on the right, it's like herding cats. It's like getting everybody on the same page. Everybody's running in a different direction. And that's the problem with the Republican Party. We have some people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a devout, dedicated conservative. And then you have others who are willing to compromise and work with the people on the left to get it done.
Well,
that's
that is
crap.
the problem of the Republican Party. We're too not forgiving or anything. We're willing to compromise our beliefs. So can't everybody just get along? Look at AOC on the left. If anybody ought to be voted out of the party,
I know
she's the one. You ought to, don't even open the door. Just, boot her and let her fly right through it.
Well, Marjorie
wouldn't do that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to be deterred by that move. I mean, she'll let her opinions be known. I don't know whether she had a real, dust up with Lauren Boebert. She might have. They may not be as friendly as you'd like them to be, because they're both competing for the same spotlight. Trust me, there are egos involved here, even on the most conservative and most political people. Yes.
And there are differences of opinion. And isn't that what America is all about?
Yep.
To represent both sides and come to a consensus between the two? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? But we are divided. The left hates the right can't tolerate the left because they don't want to listen to us. They want to cancel us. I guess we got to play, fight fire with fire and do the same thing to them.
There's another story which is getting absolutely no play from anybody in mainstream media, and this shouldn't surprise you. There's a guy, his name is Dr. Gal Luft, L-U-F-T.
Yeah, I know about him. Yes.
And
he's been on the run
lam.
for a while.
He's been on the lam, as they would say. On the lam. He's out there.
Isn't he the guy with the recording that has been so talked about? There's no such thing.
But he came out with a 14-minute video yesterday, and I want to listen to. I've listened to most of it already, and I'm going to try to edit some pieces tomorrow, and we can play it on our update over the weekend.
I understand it's pretty damning, and but he surfaced and released that.
Well, what he says, Bill? He says the Biden is a crime family. The Biden family is a crime family.
They are. They have been.
And he's on the lam because he's afraid for his life. Now, why would a guy be afraid for his life? He said that he was going to make a statement about the what was going on between Hunter and Joe, and because he was working with that group of executives, back when they were working on the China deal, and he was part of it. And he suggested, when he heard that Joe was going to run for president, that before he runs for president and we get burdened with this guy in the Oval Office, he's got to make a statement. So he had some people come over and interview him. I think he was over at the time in Cyprus. He was out of the country. So they sent over like 6 FBI and CIA people to interview this one man. He said, when I heard there were 6 people coming to interview me, I thought, what the heck's going on? All I need is 1 or 2 people to talk to. I don't need 6. They sent 6 people over. He made a statement. They disappeared. They went back to the U.S. The next thing he knows, they're filing charges against this guy for being a gun runner. He says, I've never sold a bullet in my life. I've never sold a bullet in my life. And they're telling the world that I'm selling arms to terrorist groups around the world. They're trying to put me in a terrible position. But then he goes on to indicate that it's worse than that. Now he fears for his life. And he literally was recording the video from places unknown. And, this speaks volumes to the type of people that we have in the administration right now.
Well, to be on the lam like that, and for them to say he was a gun runner, or an arms dealer,
right?
Actually changed the characterization of him and how to engage him.
That's
basically put a target on him, and that meant that he was a hunted man.
Yep.
And he had to run and hide because normally you hear that, well, there's going to be charges filed against you. First thing I would do is just go down and say, okay, I understand there's charges. Let's get this party going here, because they're not going to do anything to you except for your attorneys, their attorneys. But this is a whole different case. When
he said, if they wanted me, I guess his residence is Israel now. He lives in Israel. He's still an American citizen, but I guess he lives in Israel. He says there's an agreement with Israel. All they had to do is say to the Israelis, would you go pick this guy up and deliver him to the U.S.? But they haven't done that. They didn't do that. So that's why he took off, because he figured, well, while the getting is good, and he disappeared. But, when you talk about a gun runner, sometimes when you're just looking at the outside and you hear the term, oh, he's a gun runner, you think of some swarmy, overweight guy with a mustache and kind of sweaty, holding a handkerchief in his hand, wiping his brow because he sells guns around the world. Maybe he's got a cigar out of his mouth. You look at this guy, he looks like a college professor. He looks meek. Mm-hmm. He doesn't look like he's strong enough to hold a gun, never mind sell one, And he's desperate. He's desperate. He said, all I wanted to do is to tell the truth and warn the country about the situation it was going to get itself in if it elected Biden as president. That's all he wanted to do. And now
he just wanted to tell his opinion of what he sees going on. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with that is his opinion was anti-Biden, and apparently that's dangerous in Washington these days.
Well, it's been dangerous before Biden even ran. Look at all the Hillary debacle. But, everything about Trump, it only came and surfaced when he was announced he was running. Oh, you can't do that.
Oh,
and that's a problem.
Hey, they wouldn't go after Trump if it wasn't for that.
No.
That fact. He Trump has said, I think I could probably say that I'm not going to run even now. And they would probably drop all the charges, But
I don't know. I think some of them are in too deep.
Don't think for 1 second.
Are too big.
Don't think for 1 second that it's Joe who's pulling the strings. I mean, Joe is confused in a fog. They probably do have him if he's not doing that cocaine in the supply room. I think they got him on something else, some other stimulant to keep him awake, because he's confused. I mean, he continues to exit the wrong part of the stage. He's still shaking hands with people who aren't there. He'll be halfway through a speech to the nation and start to fumble and mumble. I mean,
Well,
and
have you ever
now,
seen-
have you noticed how we've become we've accepted it now. As a public, we can watch Jumpin' Joe do a speech, and he can start mumbling and fumbling, and it's just Joe. We'll wait until
Well,
he's
there
finished.
are things that cocaine can do to you to maybe jack you up your adrenaline a little bit. But, thinking back, I'd have to go back and look at video. But, he does have a problem where he sweats a lot and has to pat his head. So maybe he is
Well,
doing the white powder, or either that or it's on his desk and he's sitting there going, "Can somebody tell me what all this powder is? I'm just asking for a friend,
let me tell you what's going to happen.
for
There'll
his
be-
son."
There'll be some other news story that's going to come up in the next day or two that is going to suck all the oxygen out of this story, and it will be something of the past before you know it. I mean,
It'll be
before
something about Trump.
it probably will, or God forbid they'll set that nuclear device off in the Ukraine, what we talked about a couple of days ago. The one that the Russians say the Ukrainians are planning on using, and the one the Ukrainians are saying the Russians are planning on using.
Well, that if that bomb goes off, all right, at a nuclear power plant and does what it can potentially do, even if it only does an nth of what it can potentially
It's going
do,
to kill millions.
does that not draw us into World War III?
Well, I mean, think of Chernobyl. I think that town next to Chernobyl is still a ghost town. It was a vibrant, active, alive city until that power plant, self-destructed, and now it's a ghost town. Imagine what it would do. The same thing would happen in the Ukraine, and it affected, by the way, people all around the world. It doesn't just affect that neighborhood. The fallout from that plant, it drifted into Canada. We felt the effects here supposedly in the United States.
Oh, there's probably people dying of cancer now because of what happened back then.
Yep.
But I'm not a person that's pro nuclear, and as a matter of fact, I worry. I don't know if we're building new plants now. I don't believe we are, because we actually shut it down especially after the 3 Mile Island thing. It was supposedly done here, but 3 Mile Island is still going. And when did 3 Mile Island become a problem? What year was that? Was Carter in office?
Was it 79?
Okay, 1979. So you've got 20 there, plus let's put another 23 years on top of that. So you got 43, maybe 44 years that reactor's been around. Now, you look at buildings, because you got concrete and you got steel
Right.
that are that old, and they're showing and breaking down signs of wear. Nuclear facilities were certified for 25 years, and that's it. Now, they'll go out now because there's so much money in them, and the power plants have so much, political weight. Oh, you got to recertify this, because if we got to shut it off, what are you going to do? So, but I'm just saying they're dangerous. If they get breached or it leaks, and sooner or later, the plants that we do have going, they're going to start breaking down.
Did
We're
they
gonna start having
encase
problems.
3 Mile Island in concrete like they did with Chernobyl? I mean, with Chernobyl, they literally encased it in concrete. They buried it.
Yeah, but the problem that they're having is the bottom of it. There's evidence that it is eating through and seeping through. So at some point in time, if it hasn't already, it's going to breach and go through the ground. The China syndrome.
Yeah, yeah, unbelievable. And yet
It's bad news.
they throw the term nuclear war around like it's no big deal now. They're trying to get people used to the idea that it could happen. World War III is not going to be a conventional war, folks. It's not going to be soldier versus soldier. They're going to have nuclear weapons flying around the world, and it's going to affect all of us. And this is wrong. And we're allowing these people in Washington to permit that threat to hang over our necks. They're not doing anything about it.
Well, perhaps they have done something about it. They got their shelter-in-place bunkers where they're going to be safe. They're pushing the AI world really fast. I mean, 5 years ago, it's going to be, it's not even going to be in our lifetime or your lifetime. but eventually it'll happen. Now there's a big push, and it's happening. So imagine if we had a nuclear war, the general population is killed off, but the AIs can go out there and work and do the stuff. And who's to say they don't have a way of cleaning up nuclear waste and decontaminating it?
Hey,
It could be.
I may have mentioned this yesterday, but it's worth mentioning again. The Song of Freedom. It's actually called. That's the theme for the sound. I read that wrong. Sorry, folks. The Sound of Freedom is doing incredibly well at the box office. That's the movie about human child trafficking.
Right.
The Song of Freedom is the theme song. That's why I said the Song of Freedom, because I looked at the wrong line, and I'm old. But also, Jim Caviezel, this was interesting. He was talking about the film and the pressure, the goods and the bads about trying to market it. He said he approached, I guess, executives at Disney, and he said they had one problem with one word, and that was the word God. They wanted, this is a quote, they wanted me to remove God from all the script. God. This is a true story.
Yeah, I know.
He said, of course, I didn't do it. But they wanted any reference to the word God. Now, this is a company that has touted itself as being all-American, family-friendly, you know, which if that were the case, it would be what? God, country, apple pie? God, country, apple pie? But apparently that's not the case anymore for Disney. They think that the word God, I don't know, that's too controversial. We don't really know whether we stand for that part anymore. And they wanted him to remove it from the script.
Well, isn't that like Christmas? You can't say Christmas. It's sparkle season.
Oh, you know, when they came out with that, I was working on the air. I was working in programming, I think. And that just drove me nuts. And that was a city decision in Pittsburgh.
Yes, I know. I was there when it happened. I was going. I'm like, oh, sparkle
hey,
season.
Sparkle.
What the hell is sparkle?
Sparkle this.
I got you sparkler right here. Just bend over. Let me light it.
Jeez. Oh yeah. And they tried to sell the public on that for years. Finally, people said no. But even now, they call it holiday season. I think they still have a hard time saying that. Controversial word. Christmas. Oh my gosh, that's so hard to say for some people.
Well, you know, you can't really be a Christian. You can't believe in God, but you know, hey, don't say I'm not. You know, I'm not. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
What they want you to do is shop, and buy all those gifts for all those wonderful family members. Spend your money, but don't talk about the reason for the season. I mean, you know.
By the way, don't think about Christmas. Now, there might be some stores that are putting out the displays, but I was very happy. I just saw the Halloween stuff go out.
Anyway, hey, listen, the number here is 833-538-7868, 833-538-7868. We'd love to hear from you. Please give us a call. Say hello, 833-538-7868. That's the number. You won't get us because we don't just, when we finish the show, we just don't run over to the phone and wait.
Operators are standing by to take your calls now. Otherwise,
true.
you can, I guess you could snail mail us, but we don't have it at that kind of physical address. But we do have email.
Yes.
It's mail@itsanotherday.com. That's, please stand by, mail@itsanotherday.com.
Oh, what a big voice. What was that? What was that email address again?
Mail@itsanotherday.com.
Ooh, you sound like Johnny Olson. Hey, listen, my friend, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Now, we will be back tomorrow with a weekend update, God willing. Can I say that word? I guess it can. It's our show, right? God willing. Yeah.
Yeah, spiritually speaking, I'm
Good.
Okay.
Super. Have a wonderful weekend.
Hasta la vista, baby. I'm out of here.
The voice of freedom, CRN America. These days, when you want an answer about just about anything, you ask Alexa. You ask her about the weather. You ask her who won your favorite sporting event. You ask her to find a fact that you can't find anywhere. Well, we did that too. We asked her how many people have downloaded itsanotherday.com. And this is what she said.
From acceleration.com. It has been downloaded as much as 260,433,467 times.
I know. Seems like a lot. Seems like a lot to us, too. But it's Alexa. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And tell your friends about itsanotherday.com. We could use an extra listener. I mean, what do you do when you only have 260 million?